I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Hey partners, how's everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing great. I really appreciate that you're back here for another episode of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. And today's episode, I like to think is a little juicy because we're going to talk about conversation prompts and how to have possibly difficult conversations when you're with your fishermen regarding your relationship and challenges you might be going through while they're out at sea or even when they're not, even when they're home. So today we're going to talk about the 3 common scenarios between partners and their fishermen and conversation prompts, like I mentioned before, that will help you get through these conversations. Because I know that sitting down and talking with your partner about some of this might be difficult for some, and that's totally normal, but you can do it. And then I'm going to share the one resource that will help you no matter what phase of the season or of your relationship that you are in. So, all right, we're going to dive in with scenario number 1. Scenario number 1, you're not hearing from your partner as often as you hoped when they're gone. Maybe this is your first season without them. Maybe this is your 40th season without them. And there is that concern for their safety that we carry with us no matter what type of relationship, how long we've been in a relationship with our fishermen. It's just the common thread that's within, someone that you care about. Of course, they're in a dangerous job. Of course, we want to, of course, we care for their safety. So I should also note here that communication, as most of us do know this, can be all over the place with your fishermen during a season. You may hear from them daily. You may not hear a thing until they dock the boat at the end of the season or somewhere in between. And fishermen, this is the other thing, fishermen may not understand how much these messages or communication points really mean to us. And so this is some advice on how to tackle some miscommunication while you're holding down the fort and they're gone. So number 1, take charge. Here's a helpful example. You can say, last season, I really worried because our lack of communication, it really bothered me. I know it can be hard to connect when you're fishing, but can we talk through and set some reasonable expectations for how often we can talk and the easiest ways to connect? Boom. For example, one POCF said her fisherman was so used to just getting after it. He'd been fishing for probably 20 to 30 years or something before they had met. And so his routine was to go out in the fishing grounds and he doesn't have communication with anybody back on land until he docks the boat. That was something that important for him to relate to her so she wasn't sitting around worried and waiting for his call. It's things like that. Maybe they're able to satellite message you every night or every couple nights, or maybe it's 2 weeks or every week. Regardless, if this has been a challenge for you, talk to them and say, what is a reasonable amount of time that you think that you would be able to contact me. And they would probably be able to give you that answer, depending on if it's the satellite phone, if it's a satellite messaging service, if it's their cell phone, you name it. But a lot of times, y'all, it's, as we know too, it's likely there's a lack of signal to contact you in the first place. So for example, we had a POCF tell me that her fisherman had an actual Starlink satellite on the boat and the antenna fell off. So imagine going into that situation thinking, oh, Starlink, we're going to be able to chat, FaceTime, whatever. And then the friggin' antenna falls off the boat. Like, things happen. You just don't know. And you will eventually get to a point where you're able to find touch points and conversation points that will work for you. So like I said, you can talk to them about the messaging, the texting, the satellite, email, etc. Ask them about that. So another way to tackle miscommunication during a season is flexibility. And we know this is POCFs, but I'm here to remind us of our deepest knowledge of what we know. Here's an example of what you could say. You could say, hey, love, I know you're busy aboard and might not be able to check in like normal. I'm thinking of you and I love you so much. Drop a text when you can. Bottom line is flexibility is the unofficial middle name of all partners of commercial fishermen, whether we like it or not. So flexibility is a powerful opportunity for us to lean into empathy and understanding for their job and what they're going through. And also, we need to trust that while it isn't ideal not to hear from them, it's not for lack of effort on both of your parts. And you'll get back to that normal communication plan ASAP. Don't worry. Okay, so this is another scenario, scenario 2. So over the years, I've learned that communication is subjective to each relationship, of course, and each fishery, depending on the availability and phone, satellite signal, all those things that we mentioned before. And within that, this lifestyle can stir up some really big feelings that can sometimes show up misdirected, misdirected emotions. These scenarios can quickly lead to resentment if not addressed. And most of the time, we're looking for 2 different outcomes. One of the outcomes that we're looking out for is recognition. For example, you could say, I'm having a hard time this season. I'm trying to work through it. And I just want to be transparent if I seem off. So if you happen to have a conversation with them on the phone for, 5 minutes, however long until the phone drops or before they have to go back to work or go to sleep, just be honest. You could just tell your partner that you recognize this is hard. You're not putting that burden on them and you're not looking for them to solve the problem for you, but you just want to be open in case the emotions you're unpacking are impacting other areas of your life together and relationship. So you're like, hey, listen, this is kind of a difficult season for me. I love you, but this is what's going on for me right now. Boom. Honest, clean, simple. Here's another scenario, or here's the 2 different outcomes. Here's a second outcome. You need help. Dude, totally understandable. For example, you can say, I had a tough time last season. Could we talk through some ways we can support each other while you're away? So easy. Sometimes the best way for them to emotionally deal with our frustration is by feeling helpful. That could be helping you stock up on food, reviewing financial responsibilities with you, helping to meal prep for the kids before they leave the dock, going to grab a ton of diapers at Costco and wipes and make sure that you're stocked, or making an extra effort to send words of affirmation when they can. Bottom line, it can be surprising how simple acts of service can fend off resentment and strengthen your relationship in the long run. In the long run. There we go. So if you're going through this right now, if you're having a hard time in the middle of a season and you're not able to communicate with your fishermen, write down all the challenges that you're currently facing. And then you can go through the list. And whenever they come back, you can go through them with them, say, okay, this is what was going on for me. Let's figure out how to solve this. And maybe it's something that they can help with, or maybe it's something that you handle on your own. And then we're going to go into scenario number 3, which totally ties into this. So if you're feeling the weight of the responsibilities from caring from the home front and the kids or whoever, or even just by yourself and dealing with that isolation and loneliness while your partner is at sea, you're not alone. And healthy communication takes practice, but is the only way that we can thrive in a relationship. But here's what we can do. Number 1, acknowledge your needs. Sometimes overwhelm shadows what's really important. Ask yourself, what am I resentful about? Is there something lacking? What do I need more of? What feels unfair? These are some beautiful, deep questions. So if you had that list of challenges, have these questions nearby. Go through your list of challenges and go through what am I resentful about? What part of this list? What's lacking here for me? What do I need more of? And what feels unfair? And the other way that you can do this healthy communication is to communicate your needs in a productive way. For example, speaking to your partner out of frustration or when you're pissed means it's a good chance they won't hear you, if you know what I mean. They won't hear your needs and won't be able to help you meet them. And believe me, I've been there, okay? I'm a human. I have friggin' been there. But from therapy, I've learned that avoiding blame statements is crucial. You got to remove the words you, always, and never, and choose neutral time to talk to them instead of the heat of the moment. Remember that you are a team and your partner wants you to get what you need because we all deserve it and you want them to have what they need. So if there's something that is difficult for you, say, I feel that ... When this happens, I feel, not when you're gone, that's not going to really help. It's the blame. And also it's their job. They have to be gone. So that's part of the deal, right? But also you can still get your needs met. And these are ways that you can do it because we have this incredible independence that we can flourish in as POCFs. And yes, a lot of that time, it can be amazing. And I feel that 98% of the time it probably is. And just from speaking to people in my community and in personal experience, it is the silver lining of the partner of a commercial fisherman relationship is time to yourself and time to make your own rules and do your new routines and all that stuff. Of course, there are the hard times too. And maybe my percentages are skewed. But my point is, this is how we can make it to the utmost experience that we could possibly want, because this is your life after all. Like, we want you to be happy. How do you want to live your life? Maybe, for example, going back to this example, when you're saying, when you're not talking to them when you're pissed, when you're talking to them when you're level-headed, you could say, maybe you could use some support with household tasks. Maybe you could use some support with household tasks from your partner when they are home. Figure out exactly what is feeling out of balance in the relationship and consider what you need to be different. For example, do you need more time to be out of the house, to socialize, to exercise, or to be alone without kids making noise? These are all valid needs. It's totally okay to say, listen, I need a freaking break and I just want to spend time by myself, or I want to be away from the home environment right now. I know it's true that all of this sounds easier said than done, and asking what you want can be uncomfortable, yet it's the only way to create significant change. And healthy communication does take practice, but you got this. And what we go through is hard, but it has the potential to make our relationships that much deeper and stronger. And if you ever need extra support, the number one resource that you always have available to you is to join our private communities. And I'm going to link in the show notes for our private forum and the private group chat. I've sang its praises before, but this is really where you can get real-time support from people who totally know what you're going through and can offer advice. Like, hey, this is what I do when I'm in this situation. Oh, yes, I've gone through it. Here's a person that can help out. Send you information, links, resources, anything you need. So those private communities are there whenever you need it. And that's all for today, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. I wish you all the love and POCF pride and the most healthy, beautiful, strong, and mutual respected relationship that you could possibly ever have in your life, because you deserve it. With love and POCF pride. Till next time. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.